Okay. Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome again to another edition of Give Us Five, where we interact with a proven senior leader. And today we are blessed to have a good friend of mine, Major General U.S. Army retired Byron Bagby. Byron and I have known each other for a number of years. We had the pleasure of working together at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, delivering leadership seminar, Trugo seminar to colonels, lieutenant colonels, and command sergeant majors. And earlier in our careers, we were together in the Tropic Lightning Division, the 25th Infantry Division in Schofield Barracks. I can tell you that Byron is truly one of those proven leaders in the field. And I also am very proud to call him a good friend of mine. Welcome, Byron, to our show.
Well, Bob, thank you very much for the introduction as well as having me on your podcast today. I think back to when you and I first met in 1992 at Schofield Barracks, Hawaii. You were our division command sergeant major, and then later on, when I was a battalion commander at Fort Campbell, you were the Forces command sergeant major, still taking care of soldiers and making sure our installations were all to standard. So I appreciate your friendship these many years, Bob, and then working with you in our post-military career at Leavenworth doing leadership work. So good morning to you, and thank you again for having me.
You're more than welcome. It's our pleasure. Okay, Byron, we'll get started. The first question is, what motivated you to become a professional leader?
That's a great question, Bob, because I never really pursued a career being a leader. It was just a desire to serve my country, to demonstrate my patriotism. And I recall being a student at Westminster College, joining Army ROTC, and graduating, was commissioned as an officer. And my plan, Bob, was to fulfill my 3-year obligation and then go to law school. I took the law school aptitude test, scored very high, applied to 2 different law schools, was accepted. At the 2.5 year point of my military career, I decided I enjoy being a leader in the Army, developing soldiers, managing resources, and making decisions. So I stayed another 30 years in the military. So I didn't really pursue being a leader, but just a desire to be patriotic and a desire to serve my country kind of led me to being a leader at the junior officer level, the mid-grade level, and then at the uh, general officer level later on, Bob.
Thank you very much. Great answer. You know, Byron, there's a long list of positive traits that are exhibited by good leaders, but I wonder if you might have 3 to 5 that are very important to you.
Wow, Bob, you're right. There is a long list, and both of us could probably write out 1,000 different traits that leaders should have when you lead. But I'll share a few of those that are most important to me. First of all, if you're a leader, you must know yourself. You must understand your own strengths, your own developmental gaps. You must be self-aware of who you are, how you're portrayed, what your weaknesses are. If you don't know yourself, in my view, you can't lead anybody else. So first, I would say you must know who you are and be self-aware. I would also say you must develop your soft skills. We all look at those industry specific skills that we learn as artillery soldiers, as infantry soldiers, as accountants, and as a nurse. They've got very specific skills that are hard skills, but to be a good leader, you must develop your soft skills. Now, the question is, what are those? Well, those are things like active listening. Those are things like problem solving, building consensus, being able to read a room, things like showing initiative, getting things done, managing yourself. But we all focus on the hard skills like being an infantry soldier, about being a pilot, being a medical professional in whatever specialty you have in that field. But we tend to forget about those soft skills like how to build consensus, how to make decisions, and how to demonstrate that you have initiative. Third, I would say that consistency, being consistent in how you make decisions, how you hire people, how you provide bonuses, how you terminate individuals. Just show some degree of consistency in decisions you make as a leader, whatever level of leadership that you are in. Now you said 3 to 5, I'll give you 4. The last one I would say is listen. Active listening. You've got to learn how to listen. Pick out the right words that someone is telling you. Understand their intent. And also a part of that, which I guess is connected to soft skills, is reading those non-verbal behaviors that people have. Facial expressions, arm gestures, being able to listen and read, not just from an auditory standpoint, but also to observe, and which also helps you become more self-aware.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Byron. The third question we have for you is, look, there's no doubt you've had a very successful career. You've enjoyed many successes. Can you think back to one experience or one achievement that stands out when you reflect on your success as a leader?
I could name 10, Bob, very, very easily. I could name 10 experiences I've had that have helped me professionally and personally in my life. But the one that I come back to when I get that question, Bob, is going to Ranger School. I was allowed to go to Ranger School as an ROTC cadet back when they had that option. And my military science professor, Lieutenant Colonel Ned Dye, identified me to take our school's one slot. And I went to Ranger School and graduated. Now, this school is 65 days long. It's 24/7. You get 2 breaks, and that's 65 days, 4 hours each. And in that school, you learn a lot about yourself. You learn who you are. You understand what your limits are in terms of sleep, food deprivation, walking 20 miles with a heavy pack on your back, going through a lot of arduous conditions, making decisions under stress. So I would say the one experience I had is having a chance to go to the Army's Ranger School, and it helped me gain self-confidence in myself, understand who I am as a person, know what my limits are. So that's the one experience I had, Bob, that I believe helped me not just professionally, but also personally.
That's great. Um, what are the qualities you look for in a leader, Byron? I mean, we know your qualities, but what are the qualities that you look for in people that could lead you?
There are three main things I'll look for, Bob. One is have a passion for what you do. I don't care what your profession you're in, whether you're a professor at college, whether you're a high school teacher, whether you're a coach, whether you're a soldier, have a passion for whatever you do. Whatever your job is, have a passion for that. And if you want to come work for me in any capacity, you've got to show you've got a passion for that job that I'm about to hire you or appoint you to. And the second is have a passion for what you do, but have a compassion for those you lead. And Bob, I've heard you say 1,000 times, if you don't love soldiers, you can't lead them. You've got to have a compassion for those that you're entitled to and have the privilege of leading. Um, have empathy for them. But second, I would say have a compassion for those you lead. And the last thing I would share with you, Bob, is team playership. You've got to be a team player. And I play I want to be the best game, because if your team wins, everybody wins. So you've got to show you're a team player. Share good ideas. When someone else has some major achievement or accomplishment, celebrate that with them. Congratulate them. So if you want to come work for me, you've got to demonstrate that you are a team player, that you can share those good ideas, share the heavy burdens when things come down, but be a team player. So I'd say a passion for what you do, a compassion for those you lead, and then demonstrate that you are a bona fide team player.
Great answer, Byron. Great answer. Well, the fifth question, a young person comes to you and says, Mr. Bagby, I want to be a leader. I kind of fancy doing what you did. What are the tips that you have? What are the three top tips that you have for that person?
Uh, Bob, that's a great question also. And I'm on a university trustee board of William Lewis University in Fulton, Missouri. And I spend a lot of time with students, as I did last week for a couple of days. And I would say that the top three tips that I would give them are based on the acronym T, the T you drink. TEA, trust, expectations, and accountability. You've got to build trust. You've got to show that you are trusting of other people. You've got to demonstrate that you are trustworthy on the other side. So you've got to build an environment and an organization that is based on trust. You've been trustworthy yourself, and you've been trusting of those with whom you work. Now, the E is expectations. Communicate clearly what your expectations are of your organization in terms of time standards, uh, developing business opportunities, managing your own budget. Show what your expectations are of those with whom you work, and also understand what expectations are of you and your role as a military leader, as a corporate executive, as a university administrator. So expectations are important. And finally, I would say accountability. Demonstrate accountability, how you can be accountable for certain things to meet the expectations that have been set for you. And I would say also hold those who work for you accountable for meeting their standards, getting their jobs done, whatever their roles happen to be in your organization. So I'd say the acronym TEA, trust, expectations, and accountability.
I'm going to remember that acronym. That's pretty nice. All right, Byron. Well, I'm not going to let you off the hook. Being a True Growth alum, do you mind sharing your five personal values with us?
Absolutely. When it comes to personal values, we all could have 100 of them very easily. But there are five or six, four or five or six that are also very important that are kind of the nucleus that demonstrate who you are, that define your purpose. But my five core values are efficiency, independence, lifelong learning, resilience, and Bob, that dirty four-letter word called diversity. Now, when people hear diversity, they think of what? Demographics. Think of race, gender. They think of faith. But when you look at diversity, I look at cognition. How are you cognitively? I look at experiential element of diversity. What's your experience? Where are you from? What have you done? So I believe that one of my core values is diversity, not so much from a demographic standpoint, but more cognitive and experiential, which to me are very, very important when you're building a team. So those are my five personal core values, Bob.
Well, thanks so much, Byron, and thanks for taking the time to being with us. I'm sure people are going to benefit from your wisdom and your response to these questions, and we truly wish you the very best.
Bob, thank you very much for having me this morning on your podcast. I look forward to our future interactions. Like I said, you're a longtime friend of mine, and I welcome any interaction that we have. So my best to you and Karen.
Thank you, Byron. Take care.
All right, have a wonderful day.
You too.